What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Ransom Reviews. ESPN just recently released their top 100 players in the NBA, their projections for next season, and some people are losing their minds over some of these rankings. So I just wanted to weigh in with a couple of things. First, I'm going to talk about what my top 10 rankings are. Then I'm going to go through 10 rankings that I think they got very wrong. And last, I'll just do a little bit of Celtics related ranking stuff. So let's jump right into it. I first want to reiterate what these rankings actually are because I feel like a lot of people just aren't looking at it the right way. You have to remember that these are projections for next season. So this isn't who are the best 100 players in the NBA right now. It's not who have been the best 100 players in the NBA up until now. It's literally who will the 100 best players be next year in the NBA. So I think that's an important thing to think about. You have to think about what's going to happen next season. And I'm going to tie that into a little bit of my rankings here as well, and why I also thought that some of their rankings are off. I also just want to mention this is just subjective, right? I mean, we obviously have numbers and everything, but there's no definitive way to say who is the best and who isn't. This is just my take. I know a lot of people are going to watch this and think I'm crazy and think my takes are totally wrong, just like people are criticizing ESPN. That's fine. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. But yeah, I watch a lot of NBA, mostly Celtics, but I do watch a lot of games. I have good takes. I have horrible takes. It happens. These are just my predictions. So let's get into it. Obviously, ESPN, if you've checked their rankings, and you should be familiar, they had Kevin Durant ranked number 1, and Giannis 2, LeBron 3, Luca 4, and Steph 5. Now, I didn't think that was crazy, but it's not my top 5 at all. So let's look at who I have for my top 5. First of all, my number 1 is Giannis. I thought this was an easy pick, not just because he just won the championship, but I just think that he's the best player in the NBA right now. He's 26 years old. He's in his absolute physical prime. He is a two-way player. He dominates on both sides of the ball. And there you can see his stats from last year: 28 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 29 PER, which was one of the highest in the league, and 10 win shares. So Giannis is a beast. He played 61 out of what, 72 games, 73, however many games there were last season. And yeah, he's healthy. He plays hard on both sides of the court, and he wins a lot of games for you. I think he's the best player in the NBA. My second ranking is Steph Curry. This kind of made me laugh because everyone is saying KD, KD. He's the best player in the NBA. He's the best offensive player in the NBA. He's unstoppable offensively. And I mean, I agree that KD is incredible offensively, and he's going to go down in history as one of the greatest offensive players to play the game. But like, I feel like Steph Curry was better than him last season offensively. Now, it's not like by a lot, but I don't know. All these people saying that Kevin Durant, we're going to look at his numbers next, is just like, by far the best offensive player in the NBA. I mean, Steph Curry averaged more points. He played more games. His PER is the same, just as efficient. His effective field goal percentage is the same. So, like, if you've got two guys on that level, and one scores more points and plays in more games, who are you going to take? So I know I get that Kevin Durant is like 6'10", and to have a guy that size that can do the things he does, you might want to take that guy over someone who's 6'3". But I just think Steph Curry is a beast, and I think looking at next season, Golden State, people are thinking that they're going to bounce back. They're hoping that Klay Thompson will be healthy. But really, the reason why Steph Curry had such a monster year last year was because they needed him to do anything. And I think that's going to be the case again this year. And that's another reason why what he did last year was so impressive. He didn't have a lot of help. Everybody that played Golden State knew you have to defend Curry. It's not like going against the Nets when they had Harden and Kyrie. So I just think that, Curry is going to have another amazing year this year. And that's why he's number 2. Number 3 is Kevin Durant. So obviously Kevin Durant's amazing. I don't need to spend much time talking about how great he is. There's his numbers, 27, 7, and 6. Again, PER exactly the same as Steph's. His win shares is obviously much lower, not because he's worse, but because he only played 35 games last year. So, his win share is roughly half of Steph, and he played roughly half as many games. So, they're neck and neck. But the issue with Kevin is, will he be healthy? And I think he will be. I want to believe that he will be, but you never know. And also, I think that, I don't know. I just think that Harden and Kyrie are there, and that takes away some of the shine, from what Kevin Durant is going to offer next season. But we'll see. So here's where my list gets quite a bit different. At number 4, I have Nicole Yokic, who I think he was maybe number 6 on ESPN's list. Obviously, Nicole Yokic won the MVP last year. I mean, look at these numbers. They're unbelievable. He had 15.6 win shares, which was led the NBA. He was the MVP. He averaged 26 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists. And he played all 72 games, every single game. So I don't know how you can't have this guy in your top 5. I understand that he's not the best defender, but what he did last year was incredible. And, they're going to be without Jamal Murray for a lot of next season, I believe. So there's no reason to think that he's going to take a step back. If you look at, what his team needs him to do next year, they're going to need him to do all of this stuff again. And again, he's 26 years old. He's in his prime. So I think Jokic is going to have another incredible year. I think he's going to be beasting out all year. And look at those numbers. You got to respect what he's doing. I think you have to put him in the top 5. And then my number 5 is Luca Doncic, who, some people are putting like 2 or 3. Honestly, I almost didn't even want to put him in my top 5. If you look at his numbers, his numbers are obviously great, 28, 8, and 9. But, 25 PER. Win share is only 7.7. His team wasn't great last year. He has kind of struggled to put his team over the edge. He kind of does everything by himself. So that's a kind of a hard thing to judge. Like, his team's not very good, but he's going to put up monster stats. He's going to be incredibly important to his team. I think the big thing people look for is, when is he going to be able to shoot the 3 ball a little bit better? If he can get his 3-point percentage up, he's going to be just impossible to play against. And he's already obviously a handful. The reason I decided to go with him number 5 is because Luca is just, he's so good, and he just keeps getting better. This is a guy who's still really young and just getting better and better every season. And again, his team stinks. So he's going to have to be an absolute monster again this year for his team to do anything. And I think he'll do that. That's why I have him number 5 over poor LeBron James, who gets bumped out of my top 5. This is where I imagine a lot of people will think I'm crazy, putting LeBron James at number 6, call me a LeBron James hater, this and this and that. But let me explain why I have LeBron 6. And honestly, I wanted to put him lower, but I just felt like people are going to come for my head. LeBron James is going to be 37 years old next year, and he is an old 37. He has an incredible amount of miles on him. You can look at his numbers there from last year: 25, 8, and 8, 24 PER, 5.6 win shares. He also only played 45 games because he got hurt last year. So again, a lot of this comes down to health. Is LeBron James going to be healthy next season? And, it's not like this guy has a history of being injury prone, anything but he is also getting old. And the other thing I think is that, looking at the Russell Westbrook signing for the Lakers, I just can't imagine that they're going to play LeBron a lot. Like, I don't think they're going to run him into the ground. I think they're going to be very careful with his minutes. I think they're going to give him some nights off and just let Russell Westbrook run the show during the regular season. I think they're going to try to keep him healthy for the playoffs. That's the smart thing to do, to try to keep him, to have him out there and playing and leading the team to enough wins to get a decent playoff position. But to really, the number one goal is just to make sure that he's healthy for the playoffs and has, a lot of gas left. So I think that's going to impact his numbers and his impact. And that's why I have him number 6. And honestly, I would have put him even lower, but I'm scared. That's the truth. I'm scared to put him lower. So LeBron is 6. Number 7, I have Joelle Embiid. And again, I almost wanted to put him in my top 5 because, and I'll explain why. Obviously, Ben Simmons' situation is an absolute disaster. We have no idea what's going to happen with that. We don't know if Ben Simmons is going to report, if he's going to play, if they're going to trade him, if he's going to be disgruntled, if Philly is going to be a mess. There is one thing that we know. Joel Embiid is the number 1 guy in Philly, right? He's going to eat no matter what. You can see his numbers there from last year, 29, 11, and 3. Almost 9 win shares. And again, his PER of 30 is outrageous. He had an incredible year last year. Only played in 51 games, and that's the issue, right? It's always the issue with Embiid. Can he stay healthy? I think if he is healthy, he could easily be a top 5 guy in the NBA this year because his team is going to need him more than ever with all this Simmons BS. But, I would be shocked if he plays the whole season. If you could get even 60 or 70 games out of him, I still think he could be a fringe top 5 guy, but we'll see. Number 8, Damien Lillard. There are his numbers from last year, 29 points, 4 rebounds, about 8 assists, 25 PER, 10 win shares. Again, this is a guy who, like Luca Doncic, is kind of like his whole team. Like Joel Embiid, this team would be nowhere without him. They need him. He's the number 1 guy. He's going to get a ton of shots. Everything's going to be built around him. And, there were some trade rumors for a while, but it looks like he's staying put. So he's going to be the guy in Portland. And again, this is a team that can't do anything without him. So he's going to put up huge, huge numbers. He's going to be massively important. And I bet he's going to have another great year. So he's number 8. Number 9, big fat James Harden. So I was pretty hard on James Harden last year. I hated what he did to get out of Houston. I found it really despicable. He showed up out of shape. Of course, he got hurt last year because he was, playing his way into shape. He was husky, you could say. But as much as I didn't like all of that stuff, you can't argue with the results. 25 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists, led the league in assists, 7 win shares, only played 44 games because, like I said, again, he got hurt. But I actually expect Harden to be even better this year because I think he's going to be healthy. The distractions are gone. He's where he wants to be. And I think in a strange kind of way, he's kind of become like the alpha in Brooklyn. Like he's kind of like the leader of that team. It feels like, and that's what a lot of the reports have said as well. So I think Harden could have a monster year. I think he could be really durable again, like he has been in the past. And number 9, I think he could be even higher, to be honest. And then my number 10 is kind of a sneaky one. People might think this is a bad pick because Chris Paul is going to be 37 next year. And you look at his numbers and they don't really jump out at you. 16 points, 9 assists, 4.5 rebounds. But look at the win shares, 9 win shares. And you have to look at Chris Paul's career and understand that like every team that he goes to gets dramatically better. And is that not what basketball is all about? Winning. And I know Chris Paul has never won the big, the whole thing. couldn't get it done in the finals last year. Before that, had never even made it to the finals, kept getting bounced early in the playoffs. But so I know it's a strange thing to say, like Chris Paul affects winning so much, but he does. He might not get you a championship, but he's going to have you in contention. He's going to get you to the playoffs. He's going to get you a chance. And that's why I have him as my number 10. What he did with that Phoenix team, and I know it wasn't just him. I know, Ayton had a much better year. I know Booker played well. I know they have a lot of nice pieces in Phoenix, but they were a fringe playoff team. And then they ended up being the second seed in the West and making it to the NBA Finals. And I do think a lot of that is because of Chris Paul. Even though he is 37, he's been more healthy the last few seasons than he has been in a long time. And I just think he's found a way to play in these last couple of years that what's the word I'm looking for? It's manageable. The way that he's found to play in these last couple of years, like he can do it and be effective without getting hurt. And so he is my number 10. So between 11 and 20 is crazy. I'm not even going to attempt to rank the players from 11 to 20 because I really think it could fall anywhere. We're looking at players like Anthony Davis, who could be higher but has a hard time staying healthy. We're looking at players like Bradley Beal, who keeps leading the league in scoring, but his win shares are really low because no matter how many points he scores, his team always loses. We're looking at players like Trae Young, who was incredible in the playoffs last year. Zion, who is awesome already and just getting better. Jason Tatum, Paul George, Jimmy Butler, Donovan Mitchell. These guys are all just bunched in there from 11 to 20, and I don't really think I can rate them. So that's my top 10. Whether you agree or not, that's how I rank who I think will be the 10 most impactful players next season. So then let's get into my 10 nitpicks that I have with this list. 10 things that kind of stuck out to me that I just didn't agree with at all. I didn't find to be accurate. The first one is just a couple of rookies, actually. Jalen Green was ranked at 96 and Cade Cunningham was ranked at 76. And I just don't see that big of a gap between what those two players. I really like both of them. I think they're both going to make a large impact next year. But I mean, like Jalen Green he's going to statistically have a really great season because Houston is going to lean on him. He's going to be arguably their number one guy. So I just don't know why you would have him at 96 and Cade at 76 because I think Cade maybe will help towards winning more games, but I think Jalen will probably have the more statistically impressive season. So I would rank those guys right about even, maybe put Cade a little bit higher. He is the number one pick, but I just don't see that big of a gap. 20 spaces is a lot. My second issue was Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon is rated at 65, I think is where ESPN had him. And I just think that is much, much too low. So you can see him down here at 65. And so look at this. Last year he was number 39. And then they're in here talking about how he had a great season last year. And yet he's 65 this year. How does that make sense? You look at his numbers from last year, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 18 PER, 4.2 win shares. I just think 65 is too low. You got players like, let's take a look at this again. You climb all the way down here to the 50s, and you got guys that I just don't think belong above him, like Jeremy Grant, Anthony Edwards, and Buddy Hield. Like Sacramento doesn't even want Buddy Hield. They've been desperately trying to get rid of him. He's 51. Anthony Edwards scored a lot of points and did almost nothing else. And yeah, he's a really fun, exciting young player, athlete, but empty stats, man. We're talking about empty stats. So again, I don't know exactly what ESPN is thinking when they talk about these rankings. Are they talking about winning games, or are they just talking about, players that are fun to watch or have put up big numbers? Because the way I looked at it was players that impact the game in a winning way, that help you win games. And there's no way that Buddy Hield and Anthony Edwards and Jeremy Grant are better than Malcolm Brogdon. I'm not buying it. So that brings me to number 3 on my nitpicks. And this one hurts because I'm obviously a huge Celtics fan, but I'm sorry. Marcus Smart at number 49 is criminal. So let's take a look at this. They have Marcus Smart here at number 49. I think this is the worst rating on this whole list. I thought it was crazy last year when they had him at number 37, but at least he was, at that point, he was coming off like all NBA level defense. Last year, his defense really wasn't very good. It slipped a lot. And we know about his offense. He's the worst volume shooter the NBA has literally ever seen in the history of the league. So, could he get his defense back, be more healthy this year and get that defensive impact back? Obviously we're hoping that he does, but even then, 49 is crazy. I mean, you look at Marcus Smart's numbers, even just compared to Malcolm Brogdon, right? Brogdon played more games, had higher win share, had a higher PER, had better everything. And yet somehow Brogdon's 65 and Marcus Smart is 49. And again, people would say, oh, well, that's the intangibles. That's the defense. But I watched the games last year and the defense was, above average, not nearly enough to have him at 49. That's crazy. I mean, PER is like, look at it, a measure of permanent production standardized such that the league average is 15. So he's below average. And yet ESPN is trying to say that he's 49. Try to put this into perspective. If he's 49 and there's 30 teams in the NBA, that means that there's like 10 teams in the NBA where Marcus Smart would be your second best player on the team. That's insane. There's no way. I can't think of a single team in the NBA where Marcus Smart would be your second best player. So for me, I would have him ranked probably more like somewhere between like 70 and 90, I think would be a much more accurate rating for Marcus Smart, if he was even on the list at all. I mean, in the offseason, we seem to have to choose between signing him and Evan Fournier. We obviously picked Marcus Smart, but if you look at him and Fournier's contracts, very similar contracts. So seems like the NBA kind of decided that they had similar value. Guess where Fournier is on this list of top 100? He's not on it. So, I mean, I think you could even make a case that Marcus Smart doesn't belong on the top 100 list, but, somewhere between 70 to 90, I think makes sense. Another one that I thought was just absolutely criminal was Miles Turner at 44. And again, I don't understand this at all. Miles Turner, a guy who it seems like his team hasn't wanted him for years. Look at his numbers. He's almost 7 feet tall and he averages 6 rebounds. He's been like a 12-6 guy for years. Played 47 games last year. So again, missed roughly half the season. I know he blocks a lot of shots, but I cannot see, again, him being the second best player on 10 or 15 teams in the NBA. That is crazy to me. To me, Miles Turner belongs, I mean, honestly, I'd say similar value to Marcus Smart. Put him somewhere around 70. He doesn't belong anywhere near 44. Way, 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 way too high. I don't understand that at all. Yeah, I mean, look at this. Last year, his rank was 74, and he didn't even he didn't have a great year. He was good. It's fine. But he went up 30 spots. Why? And then you can see down here, his homie Sabonis is just a couple of spots away. Sabonis is way better than Miles Turner. It's not even close. All right. Enough about Miles Turner. My God. But yeah, actually, even to continue riffing off Miles Turner, the next one I had an issue with was Julius Randle. So Julius Randle is 42, two spots ahead of Miles Turner. And look at the year that he had last year. Played every single game but one, 24 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 20 PER, 8 win share. I mean, there were people that were talking about Julius Randle getting MVP votes. He was fantastic last year. He evolved into a whole different level of player than we had seen before. And there's no way that him and Miles Turner are even in the same ballpark. I'm sorry, they're just not. So I think Randle is too low. I could see him in the 30s. He's going to be New York's best player next year. They're going to lean on him again, and I think he's going to have another really, really big year. Again, 26 years old, in his absolute prime. It's kind of funny how this stuff works out because Marcus Smart and Julius Randle were taken right around the same time in the draft, and for the longest time in their NBA careers, they did seem like they kind of had equal value. Smart might have actually been a little bit more valuable, but I think lately that the table has turned and Randle has become a much better player. All right, let's get to another guy who I thought was rated way too high, and that is Pascal Siakam. So Siakam, I mean, he slipped as well too. He's at 38, and I think, let's see, last year he was even higher, maybe in the 20s. Yeah, 24 in 2020. That was the prediction, and this year 38. And I still think that's too high. I'm just not on the Pascal Siakam train anymore. He had like this one really amazing year, but last year, like just nothing was really good. You can see his numbers there. They're okay. His numbers aren't bad. Don't get me wrong. But like he didn't seem happy in Toronto. There were some disciplinary concerns. Like so often what made Pascal so good was this relentless drive and motor that he had. And he didn't necessarily have that last year. And I don't know why all of a sudden this year he would get back to that, to being this incredibly hard worker. He seems disgruntled. So I don't think that he's going to have like this bounce back year. I think if anything, he's going to continue to tail off. Another guy I'm not big on this list is Draymond Green at 37, right above Pascal Siakam. Like I get that Draymond Green is like the intangible wizards. He's like Marcus Smart on steroids. But I mean, like 7 points per game. Can't shoot threes. And what made him so valuable, like Marcus Smart, was his incredible defense. But his defense was not very good last year. It's slipping. He's getting older. He doesn't have the same athleticism that he used to have. So I don't know. I don't think he's quite washed up yet. But I think 37 is too high. Like, look at this. He was 44 last year, and he kind of did not have a great year, and he's getting even older, but then they have him higher this year. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. If anything, he should be, continuing to slide down these rankings, maybe in the 60s. I hate to say this. This one is going to be probably my hottest take of this whole thing. Rudy Gobert. Because everybody loves clowning on Rudy Gobert because the same thing happens every year. He has these amazing regular seasons, and then they get to the playoffs, and he's like borderline unplayable. He absolutely kills them. I have a hard time putting into words why Gobert just can't, like his style of basketball just does not work in the playoffs. But the fact is, look at his numbers from last year. 14, 13, he had a bunch of blocks. He had 11 win shares per game, 23 PER, and he won Defensive Player of the Year, and he's ranked 25. That just seems a bit low for a guy who was Defensive Player of the Year. He's the 25th best player. But I mean, again, it's because of what happened in the playoffs, the recency bias. You start to wonder, like, is Utah going to start to go away from him? But I don't think they can. I think they're stuck with him still for a little while longer. I still think he's going to anchor that defense during the regular season, and he's going to put up monster numbers. I don't think there's a trade out there that they can send him anywhere. So, yeah, Gobert at 25 seems too low, even though I get that his game is kind of going extinct. We're not going to see many more players like him probably, but still 25 seems low. Next one is right above him, Karl Anthony Towns at 24. I hate Karl Anthony Towns. I'm sorry. Like, he's just another one of these guys that's just like empty numbers. His numbers always just look so good, but yet like his team is so bad every year. So what are we talking about here? Like, are we talking about guys that can put up numbers? Are we talking about guys who actually impact the game? Because yes, Karl Anthony Towns puts up great numbers, but as far as impacting the game, come on, man. Like, his team is going to stink forever. He's never going to matter. So I think 24 is a bit high for him, especially when you look at who's ranked right above him. Zion is 23. I almost wanted to put Zion in my top 10. Like, I almost went crazy and said, you know what? I'm just going to slide Zion into my top 10. Look at his numbers from last year: 27, 7, and 4, and crazy field goal percentages across the board. His three obviously isn't good yet. His D was horrific at times last year. But look at his PER, 27, and he's 21 years old, almost 9 win shares. I mean, Zion is a beast, and he's only going to get better. You have to imagine his assist numbers are going to go up if they keep running him through the point. You have to imagine that his defense is going to get better. I mean, it can't really get worse. So how you can think that like these two guys are going to have a similar season, I just can't wrap my head around that. Next, my last one, number 10, is Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal at number 11, I think, is too high. And I get that he is an incredible scorer. I get that he led the league in scoring last year and the year before, I think, as well. He's an incredible scorer, but like, his team stinks. His team always stinks. Again, it's like, how much do these points matter? And I like Bradley Beal, but 11 is yikes, man. I don't quite see it. I mean, you can see there, he played 60 games with 30 points a game, and his win shares is still only 5.9, nearly 6. That just seems so low for a guy that's scoring that many points. And, you know, I look at Drew Holiday, who was ranked, I think, 20th on this list. I think he's 20. Oh, man, we gotta go here. 22. So I look at Drew Holiday ranked 22 here, and I look at Bradley Beal ranked 11, and I don't see a huge difference between the value you get from both of these guys. I mean, look at Drew Holiday's numbers from last year. You know, obviously he scored like half as many points, but we know all about Drew Holiday's defense. They have a similar PER. They have a similar win share. They played in almost exactly the same amount of games. So even though they're different players, I think you're getting similar value from these two guys. And so to have one at 22 and the other one at 11 just doesn't seem right. I think I'd be much more apt to move Bradley Beal down to around 20 than I would to move Drew Holiday up to 11. So sorry, Bradley. That's how I feel. Now, as far as Celtics takes, I have seen some Celtics fans say that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are too low, but I don't necessarily agree with that. So Jaylen Brown is what, 20? I think he's 27. Let's see if we can find him. Or did I lose him already? I think Jaylen Brown is 27, and Jason Tatum is 14. So first, we can talk about Jaylen Brown at 27. I think that's about right. You know, it's tough getting into that top 25. I think he could get there this year. You know, last year I know he was a bit nicked up. His defense slipped a lot, but his scoring was really, really good. But again, if you look at his numbers from last year, Jaylen Brown, you know, 5 win share, 24 points, 6 boards, and only played in 58 games. So, you know, like pretty much like a little bit like his numbers aren't that different from Bradley Beal, you know, slightly lower win share, slightly lower PER, and, you know, 5 or 6 less points a game, but for a little bit better defense. But I think Jaylen Brown could get, if he has a really good year, if he's healthy, if his defense bounces back. He's talked about improving his playmaking. If that actually happens, could he be a top 20 player this season? I do think he has the potential to get there. So I think he could crack the top 20. But, having him at 27, I don't think is egregious. And then again, looking at Jason Tatum had an awesome year last year, better year than the year before in a lot of ways. But, if you see his ranking, he was number 11 in 2020 and this year 14. So you might say, well, if he had a better year last year, then why is he ranked lower? I think it's because they were kind of crazy on him in 2020. This was coming off that playoff run where he was just like godly. And I think people were like really getting a little bit ahead of themselves as far as how good Tatum could be. I still think that he has the potential to be a top 10 NBA player. I've been saying that for years. I think he has the potential to even be top 5 at some point. Will he get there next year? We'll see. I don't think 14 is unfair, though, because, again, you got to look at these names that are around him. Jimmy Butler had a great year last year. Trae Young was phenomenal. Donovan Mitchell was great. And these are all players that are ranked lower than him. As much as I hate Kyrie Irving, when he played last year, was amazing. It might have been his best statistical year in his career as far as like percentages and everything. So it's not like you can look at some of these guys and say, oh, he should be higher than, Chris Paul or Paul George. I would have him higher than Bradley Beal, to be fair. I think he's higher than him. But once you look at this top 10, that's a tough group to crack. So I don't think that those numbers are really that far off. I would say my biggest surprise with the Celtics is obviously Marcus Smart being 49, which I just think is insane. And then the other one is Robert Williams not cracking the top 100, I think is pretty wild as well. They have Mitchell Robinson at 92. And no shade to Mitchell Robinson. He's a nice player and actually quite similar to Rob Williams in a lot of ways. I just think Rob Williams is better. I think Rob Williams is going to be a better player. And I think he should be on the top 100. So I would have loved to have seen Robert Williams somewhere around 90. I'm sure the reason why he's not on the list is because of health. You can see he only played in 52 games there. And even the 52 games that he did play in, his minutes weren't that high. But again, that's the deal with Robert Williams. You get these bursts of incredible impact on the game when he's out there at times. But you just get bursts of it, and that's it. If Robert Williams was playing 30 minutes a game and he was healthy and played a full season, he'd be a top 50 player. Easily, if not higher. But that's just not who he is. So I think even considering, sort of his injury proneness and his history, I think putting him in the top 100 would have been fair. And really, that's it. I don't see anybody else on the Celtics roster being a top 100 player. So, yeah, that's my take on ESPN's top 100 list, my top 10 players, some of the things that I didn't like about the list, and just a little bit of Celtics stuff as well. So if you have made it this far, congratulations. Really proud of you. Let me know in the comments below what your top 10 is, or at least your top 5. You should be able to at least piece together a top 5. Keeping in mind, again, these are predictions for who's going to be the most impactful players in the NBA next season. This is not based on previous performance. So let me know in the comments. I'd love to see your thoughts. You can tell me why I'm wrong. I'm sure there's going to be a few of you out there that disagree with my rankings. Looking forward to reading it. And yeah, I'll see you next time on Ransom Reviews.